Stanford University.
Good morning. So yes, they did ask us to give a little bit of our background. So originally 17 years, I'm a migrant farm worker from South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, far Texas. I was also part of the school lunch program for those first 17 years. I was always interested in nutrition. From the earliest recollection was about 4 or 5 years of age, and my inspiration was Jack LaLanne. For those of you that can remember that far back. My mom certainly was instrumental in us getting back to school while we were working in the fields, and always encouraged us to go back to go to college. She had a 6th grade education, but was very instrumental. So I did go to college. I earned a degree in food and nutrition, and later on a master's in business administration. My first job out of college was in the school food service market, where I've spent the last 32 years. I had no idea that this is what I was going to do. As they say, the job found me, I didn't find it. I spent 20 years in the Dallas area, and I say that I worked for the food system, the broken food system, where it was more important for us to maintain a healthy bottom line than to create healthy bottoms. And so, saying that, I collaborated with 2 groups, industry and other food service directors, and that was the extent of my collaboration. So after 20 years, again, being a true nutritionist, I lost my passion, my heart for the work that I was doing, so I stepped away, and I moved out to California. Well, in California, the Novato Unified School District hired me. We had a school district of about 8,000 students. I wasn't trying to get back into school food service, but I figured that I was there, so I did 3 things. I had to re-educate myself in the food system. So I started reading books, and I started talking to people about what books were available. And so I learned about Michael Pollan and the Omnivore's Dilemma, Marion Nestle in Food Politics, and Colin T. Campbell in the China Study. I started to redefine the role of the food service director. So I became part of the local food environment, or community, if you will, versus the food system. And then I began to collaborate with our internal and external partners, and that was a big part of what we're still doing. We've collaborated with over 25 organizations in the work that we do, because we know that the work that we're doing in schools we can't do alone. During that time, I've been there for 10 years. This is actually my 12th year. We've had the support of the superintendent, the school board, the parents, the nurses, teachers, and students as well. The Wellness Reauthorization Act, or the Reauthorization Act of 2004, which involved moving wellness policies into all schools, certainly helped us. So one of the first collaborative partners that I reached out to were our teachers, because there's such an important part of our kids' lives every day, being a role model. And so we simply did this. We connected the 3 C's, and that is what we're doing in the cafeteria. We then drove into the classroom and then out to the community. So we were all messaging and all giving the same information to our kids. And so, excuse me. So I kind of lost my place, so I put my card down. So then I'm back on track. Sorry about that. So then what we did in school food services after that is, because of the wellness policies, we were looking into what can we do? What can we change in the system? And so we started addressing processed foods. So for me, it was addressing the amount of sugar in foods. And so we started eliminating, this is back in 2002, eliminating the sodas, which was still part of the school program, eliminating chocolate milk, eliminating juices, eliminating pastries and other high-sweetened cereals. So much so that when we quantified it, we estimated, and we were only serving about 4,000 meals a day, we estimated that we were eliminating over 400 pounds of sugar a day, or the equivalent of 32 tons of sugar a year. Every year for the last 8 years, that's more sugar than will fill this entire room up. Thank you. It was the right thing to do. In addition to that, I had about 2005, 2006, I had gone through my 6th or 7th beef recall. And after doing all these readings and learning about CAFOs and how we were, the food that we were getting, actually the protein or the beef, the saturated fats, whatever you want to call them, I decided to make a proposition to our school board, and I actually eliminated all red meat. And so for the last 8 years, the students in the Novato School District have not been served any red meat and highly processed meat from that protein source. We also, in 2010, started implementing Meatless Mondays. And so this is again, we're serving kids, so kids can identify with this. So as I was saying earlier, we've had lots of collaborative partners. One of my first collaborative partners was Marin Organic. When I first arrived in Novato, I realized that we weren't bringing food from our local farms into our schools. And so we were only buying $500 worth a week in local produce. Today we buy close to $2,000 a week in produce, and most of it being from California. The great majority. Bananas is the only thing that's not coming from California. And so we also created this organic luncheon to reach out to our families. But that wasn't enough. It was about education. So we started bringing families out to the farms as well. How do we get our families out gleaning and bringing this food back and letting them meet the farmer and really opening their eyes to see what's happening? And we also started bringing our collaborative partners out to the farms. This became a tradition and an annual thing that we do every year with the Novato Unified School District. And it was about that collaboration and getting all these partners. Again, I told you I work with 2 groups. So I started working in the Bay Area with a group called Bay Area Nutritional Physical Activity Collaborative. Met a lot of public health people. Came back into my community working with the Department of Health and Human Services, with the HEAL Active Living, Healthy Eating Active Living Initiative. And then we worked with many, many nonprofits. For example, the Center for Equal Literacy, who are helping us rethink school lunch. People like Richard Waxman in the community who work with Lift Levante, reaching out to communities, again, getting the message in the schools, in the community, and around. We've worked with organizations like Lean and Green. This is a nonprofit organization who actually passed a proposition at the state level, a joint resolution that encouraged schools to use more plant-based products in their schools. So this is what people are doing. We work with Strauss, organic yogurt that we're bringing into our schools. We work with our local universities. We haven't worked with Stanford, so I'm looking forward to that. But we work with many universities, and we bring dietetic interns into the program, and they learn about the work that we're doing in the outreach. We've worked with groups like Kaiser Permanente, and we use the Weight of the Nation, this resource, at all of our meetings, and to, again, educate our community about the chronic illnesses that we have in our county, in our nation. And then we work with for example, the city of Novato, where we passed an ordinance, and this is policy in action. So you know all that sugar that I told you we took out? Well, we were seeing junk food trucks pulling up to our schools and just reselling all that food. And so it took us 5 years, but we passed this ordinance, and this is policy in action, folks. Thank you. I was on cloud 9 for a long time on that. Okay, so then why do we do what we do? Ultimately, we do this for our children, the work that we're doing. You've heard people say this is the first generation that's going to outlive their parents. In addition to that, all the chronic illnesses we're seeing in younger and younger children. And so food service programs can make a difference. You can do all these things that I've been doing. You can really take it in very many different directions. And of course, we all know about the improvement of academics in the classroom and physical activity. So all of you can help our programs make a difference. We've got a lot of school food service people that are just as passionate as I am, and they're doing a great job out in the schools, but they need support. A lot of times they don't have enough funding, they don't have enough staff, and they don't have enough of the facilities. So it's a big problem, but there are solutions, and you can be a part of that solution. So I want to thank Stanford, I want to thank Christopher and Mark Bymester for allowing me to speak to you today.
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.